This is 2 Maccabees 6 and verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Kal halal Yahweh Bar Hashem Yahweh Shai Bar Hashem Rukwah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the brothers on down, teaching and preaching, pushing this gospel, good news to the four corners of the earth, waking up the hopeful elect of Israel. Greetings also to the few sisters that tune into these video epistles. Can't stop, won't stop. The Spirit is on me to keep this series, it's a mini-series we've started. It's called Christian Principles. It's looking at the hypocrisy of this so-called white man, the Edomite in the scriptures. He's a liar, deceiver, he's a thief, he's a plunderer. That's all he does. So this is Christian Principles 5. I just read the scripture here, the Maccabees. Much to learn here. You can see why they spent all of their energy. These 274 years it took the Bible Destruction Group, what they call them, the Ish people over there in our land. It took them all that time to remove the Apocrypha. I think apo means away, and crypt or krypha means hidden. So that's the name given to this, the Apocrypha, sent away, hidden. So desperate were they to hide this history, this truth that is contained within this, I think it's 14 books here, encapsulating the Greek period, the period there where the Hebrew Israelites, that's who we are, the true Hebrew Israelites, currently being called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, plus the diaspora, they're dispersed amongst us, scattered to the four corners of the earth, where the true people of Yahweh and his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, is who we worship. We love him because he loved us first. And so we're waking up, and this man is on blast, all of his lies, bouncing around the earth with our book in his hand, claiming that he's the people, set himself up, that he wants to be worshipped. And so he's got his picture all over the place. He's defaced all the previous images in an exercise called iconoclasm. Might want to look that word up, where you deface all of what was before you, all the images, and put yourself up instead, which is the height of blasphemy, the one sin that cannot be redeemed. So let's go back to this scripture here, 2 Maccabees 6. Let's read some of this hypocrisy, because all this action is all repeated over and over and over, and this is during the period where these Greeks, the Edomites in the scriptures, white man, woman, and child, was in rulership. And this is some of their Christian principles we're seeing on display here. 2 Maccabees 6, they start now at 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots, who had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar was also filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So what did we call ourselves? If you can't call yourself a Jew, you're a Hebrew Israelite. So you've got to call yourself what the powers that be were calling themselves, Greeks. So hence you get to Matthew, where you see where Paul's writings, he's saying there's no difference between the Greek and the Jew. Well, how come? It's because the Greeks were the Israelite foreigners. They couldn't call themselves Jews for hundreds of years, so long that they forgot who they were. This is the wonder, the marvelous works that was set up, and the redemption, the reconciliation, this gospel of reconciliation, of waking us up after all that time. We're Paul says there's no difference between the Greek and the Jew. Here it is here. Why not? They forgot who they were. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, this is an idol, the Jews were compelled to go in procession. They marched them up to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So we're seeing this difference here. You have the natural Gentiles who have nothing to do with this covenant. Covenant between who? Our power, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, and his people. But then you have the Jews who were beaten and put to death if they dared to call themselves Jews. So they were known as Gentiles. It's not so difficult to understand, but such is the covering, the blinding, the Stockholm syndrome that the majority of Hebrew Israelites cannot accept. They can't accept this truth. When they hear it, they go crazy. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall. And others that had run together into the caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip the Edomite, were all burnt together, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. These are the white man. This is his Christian principles. It's the same people. So where's your Christianity here? These women, they circumcised their children. They led them around the cities, and with the babes hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong. They bust their skulls. They smashed up these little babies. What did the babies do to them? There's this perpetual hatred. And yet there's those amongst us, even in this very book, who join themselves unto these wicked wretches. Others that had run together into the caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together. So they smashed up the babies and they burnt up the adults, because they made a conscience to help themselves for the man to the honor of the most sacred day. And the writer here is telling us, now I beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. And we have been chastised indeed. But here in Baruch 2, verse 30, the chastising was coming to an end. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. That's what's happening right now. Much to the dismay and annoyance of those around, we're waking up. We're calling on our power. We're bowing our heads to the King, Yahweh Shai. We're calling on him, turning our backs on this wicked queendom. We're not looking for validation. We don't care about your whatever it is you have to say. We don't care. We love the Lord. And that's it. There's no man can get us away. We've decided whatever is going to be, do it. And shall know that I am the Lord their God, for I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, Yahweh Shai. It's Father Yahweh. That's who we worship, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, in the name. They shall praise me in the land of their captivity. That's what we're doing. And think upon my name and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds. For they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the Lord. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers. Who's that? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they shall be lords of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power. And they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. See? It's not for everyone. It's a specific people, the Most High. He has favorites. See, these people going around with the United Nations, headed up by in the headquarters there, of the Edomite, the so-called white man. What do they promote? They're supposed to be promoting peace. People are petrified when they come to their countries. Right now they're in the land of Haiti, or the Haitian prime minister, the puppet that they put there. He's asking for international support. The people are saying we don't want those rapists there involving child trafficking and disease. When they don't get their way with their economic hitmen, they're funding wars and guerrilla warfare, promoting their degeneracy and disgusting habits and practices all over the place. It's a worldwide thing. Check back with me. See in their history books, the papal bull, like an edict that was set up by the Pope. There's one really terrible one. I'm not sure it's worse than any other. 1452. Well, to cut a long story short, it was accept their version of our book with this pale man, changed his name, stringy hair, got no melanin in his skin. He's a weak, passive liar, deceiver. As the devil. They repainted, put all the image of themselves in the place of Yahweh, Yahweh, the angels, all the prophets, everything. And they said in their papal bull, either you accept him or you're going to go into perpetual servitude, slavery. So we see this repeated over and over. The Greeks, the Greco-Roman, the Romans, and now Mark II of the Roman enterprise. And so it's the same thing. You see? So we're crying. In fact, let's go to another scripture here. Let's go to, find quickly, let's get Ezekiel. Because we're crying and we're sighing. Ezekiel 9:4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. Which mark is this? In the Hebrew, Thawa is the mark of exemption. So we're crying and we're sighing. And this truth is in our minds, it's foreheads. We can't stop talking about it. But this man, he's got a different type of branding in his mind. So we see this repeated action here, Revelation 13 and 16. This is the big one. This is what we're waiting for. I'm so excited about this. We can't wait for them to make this under the skin technology mandatory. Let's get it going. Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all, see, that's where we are right now. He's putting everything in place, the causing. He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive this charagma, this under the skin, is subdermal technology, in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had this under the skin technology, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. See, here is understanding, let him that hath understanding, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. See, that's the number synonymous with his wicked deeds. So he's pushing forward on his madness, and it's been repeated over and over and over. Whether it's the Nimrod with the building of the Tower of Babel, trying to force the Hebrew Israelites, well, the whole world, but his main target is to get the apple of the Most High's eye, to worship him and to be in perpetual slavery. Or whether it's the Greeks, stop worshiping that God of yours. Put aside all those laws, statutes, and commandments. Or else. So we have it here again. We don't want you to wake up. We're putting you to sleep with our philosophies and our religion. We've painted over all the images. How on earth can you wake up from the billions of every currency under the sun that we've spent to keep you asleep? Our Confederacy have been successful in promoting degeneracy and putting your face up front as a face of all madness. Well, it hasn't worked. And the scripture says in Baruch, in the land of their captivity, they will remember themselves. So I won't stretch the lesson beyond where it needs to be. You've been listening to more of this hypocrisy from this man. Christian Principles 5. Shalom until the next one.